Dun dun dun.
Hey, welcome everybody to Friday Night at the Crib Open Mic. I posted the link and I will post it again in case everybody would like to join us. Talk about, Chris Live. I like Rampage Live better. I think we're going to have to come up with another name for their show. But there were some interesting things that came out. Number one, it seems like Venom's going to have a hard time finding bases to hit now that they've changed the range from 50 to 80 and then 80 plus. Venom, we'll talk about that later. I know you're quite upset. And that's why you came on the show because, they've ruined PvP yet again. And there's been some delays that I guess we're still trying to work out associated with. We're delaying the beginning of the skirmish cycle by a month. Are we going to not have a raid, or this isn't the tech raid and that's why it's shorter in time? Like what's going on right here? And then we're going to spend, I'm going to leave it up to Father George to discuss the artwork post that was put out. Because he has past experience discussing the artwork.
Yes.
On YouTube shows. And,
whole segments of
it. Yeah. And I thought you had the expertise. I don't have the expertise discussing artwork, so I was going to leave that up to you. But I will go ahead and introduce people from left to right. Venom Hurricane Games.
Hello.
Hello. Magic Mike. Okay. And Father George.
Everything gonna be all right.
Mm-hmm. And sure. And this is Hefe. And again, I will post the link one more time. We're going to talk about, anything you want to talk about is what we'll do.
Oh, really?
But, as long as you keep it civil, I'm fine with discussing anything. We could talk about, what beer you're drinking, what you're cooking tomorrow for dinner. We can talk about it as long as it's well put together. And so I want to start with this 50 to 80 band. It's interesting and it's so broken at the same time. It was low hanging fruit like we talked about, and I guess I don't even know what to say about it, because I guess it's a good move because it's showing that they're doing something. But a level 75, with the help of his alliance and whatnot, with a little bit of help, can get a Conqueror. We can get a missile storm cruiser or whatnot.
Right.
And just, even with his dock, even if you just put one of them in there, he's going to run over everybody. It's not, the difference between a 129 with five of them and a level 72 with one of them isn't going to make a difference on those bases, at least in my opinion.
It's a lot to do with the amount of tech and experience that anyone at that sort of level will have. The only real people who have the knowledge at that point to create an item which will do well is someone who's starting a second account. So someone who starts brand new into the game, gets to level 70, they can do that very easily. But what they lack is knowledge and building. Sure, if they've got big friends that can help them, they can have a build that'll walk everyone. But that's a very low percentage.
Yeah,
I do agree with what they've done, partly.
Mm-hmm.
They did make it very clear that, yes, they've done that, but it isn't a perfect fix. So it seems like they are listening to what was being said. They've taken into account, yes, players at that level won't have probably the experience, but it isn't the solution that's required. People who are level 120 mightn't have the items that they need either.
Yeah, I mean,
I have listened.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, but it's listening and then understanding, because I would have said, okay, create this 50 to 80 range. And if you're going to hit down if you're going to hit down more than, if you're going to hit down at all within that range, you can't do it with tier 7. You got to use tier 6.5 or something of that nature in order to hit down, in order for it to make sense. Because, like I said, you can squeeze a couple of tier 7s into lower level docks, and you're just going to run over people, and it's not really going to change anything, I don't think.
Well, I mean, look, we've been pushing Kixeye for over a year now to change that level 50 thing. And he did preface it by saying it's a Band-Aid adjustment. And it is, because there's so many ways that they can, manipulate that whole system. But in a previous one, he also said that they're looking at a couple of different ways to kind of gauge a better base level, right? Either using the tech that the player has, or there's a couple of things there. For now, though, I think of the choices of do nothing or do this. I think this is the much better choice of those two options.
Yeah. I was just adding the one additional thing. I might have made it 50 to 70, and you're not allowed to hit down with, like I said, with the tier 7 Conqueror. You could tier 6.5s, but tier 7s.
But if you're under 50, you have a ±5 still, don't you?
Yeah. Under 50,
I'm presuming under 50, yeah. And I'm presuming if it goes from 50 to 80, it's going to be the same thing again. So under 80 should have a ±5.
I would expect maybe they do it that way, but it doesn't make sense as far as the number of players in the game that are active in the game. You're just delaying how long people can actually hit bases, because there's not that many level 70s that are active in the game that you can go out and hit.
That might be true, but you're also stopping people from being completely wiped off the face of the map before they're ready. There's two sides to it, and it's a very difficult balance. But at the end of the day, you can't expect someone who's, say, level 60 to stand any chance against even a tier 6 hull. Like, you could run a king in there and flatten them without taking any damage. It's really just at that point abusing lower level players. And for a very long time, the community itself was saying that you need to fix this. Yes, it is a Band-Aid, and I've said it's a Band-Aid, but it had to be done.
No, I'm not arguing that it shouldn't have been done. It sounds like last Wednesday's show. I'm arguing that more needed to be done. Restrict the tier that can hit inside of that. Make it, whatever, 50 to 80 or whatever, however that's going to work, ±5 or inside the entire range. But reduce the technology level that's allowed to hit a lower level at that point in time. That's more what I'm discussing. So maybe it's not tier 6. Maybe tier 6 is the way to go. I'm just saying there needs to be more to be done, because I don't think they're fixing the problem as much as they would be by restricting the tier level of the Conqueror ship that's hitting them.
Well, but they did say, they did preface it by saying it's, this is a Band-Aid fix for now. Because honestly, the other thing that one of my friends actually just mentioned too was, all the alts that are out there with subs and stuff that are sniping. What's going to happen with that? That's got to be looked at as well. Because now, you're going to have like a level 75 that's going to come out and snipe trophy fleets and stuff, and you can't do anything to them.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah. That's why I almost prefer the tier level solution as opposed to a level solution. A lot of level 100 and whatever has a tier 6 ship. They can go in there, take out those guys' dock, and, it's all taken care of. That's why my basic argument is I don't like basing anything on base level, because it causes problems in the game. That's all I'm saying.
Right. But dude, that's a moot point, because they acknowledged that before they even came up with this. I'm more curious to see what their plan is going forward, which I hope to see you know, they've been pretty good at coming out and discussing a few things. Maybe they're trying to find, you know, like they're trying to feel out the community as well, which is a good thing. So let's see. I mean, we'll see.
It certainly feels like they've been listening, and the level cap being raised to 80 will be greatly beneficial, especially in things like bounty, where yes, there's a lot of PvP items in there that are handy. So things like a missile cruiser for 5k. Before, say, last bounty, the player, yes, could have got that amount, but they would have had to keep banking every time. This time, they could almost do away with the banking where, yes, they're going to get a bit of flack from the higher leveled players who don't really have the tech to defend themselves, but they're ruling out the fact that players who could not possibly have ever gotten the tech to stop them from being farms, they're protected now. So in theory, they could remove that stupid and most awfully annoying banking system.
Okay. Reda says, okay, here's some real shit here. There is huge changes coming to unfuck PvP and F. Okay. It's festered to the point of gangrene. That the days of Ols are changing. They mean it. So I'm assuming what he's saying is that you're no longer going to be able to snipe with Conquerors on shore fleets. That's what I read into that. It's not what he said, but that appears to be the most obvious solution in there, or unless they made something more complicated.
Yeah, and he's being a little tease. I mean, there are several things that are being discussed, but you know, it's things that we can't discuss. So so there's the tease. Thanks, Laredo, you bastard.
Yeah. So, and that would be, yeah. I mean, I would have to think if that's. I mean, that's the most basic solution is to block that, and that makes the most sense. I'm sure there's going to be some exploits associated with that, probably with the Fangtooth and things like that. But that would be a good first step.
I mean, there's some interesting discussions. I do know for a fact that they are absolutely reviewing the feedback that they're getting from the community. All those polls and stuff, and there were specific questions for a reason. So they are taking a look at a lot of it. Now, what's going to come out of it, I'm not sure yet. But there are some interesting discussions going on. I'm very curious to see in which direction they go. So we'll see. I mean, it's a big mess. I mean, it really is a real big mess, especially FVF. And that's a whole nother discussion that a lot of people don't even want to get into because it's such that's yeah. It's gonna take a lot to unfuck that one. So
yeah, I mean, you know, too bad Earth's not here because Earth moved into my sector right during Bounty, and a bunch of people moved into the sector because this sector had like 4 people in it, and when actually, you know, 3 hours into Bounty, I was number 1, there was number 2, and there was nobody else. Like 4 hours in, and then about, you know, about 50 people moved in. You know, Dr. Death's Alliance, Mike and Earth's Alliance, other people moved in. And then people started talking crap. Next thing you know, people are sniping shore fleets, and nobody wanted it to happen. It was just became chaos, right, Mike?
Yep, it's a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Still that way.
Is it still? Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I was cool because everybody knew me. They weren't sniping me, but you know, everybody else was in bubbles, and I was like, some of the people in Earth's and in yours Alliance were like, wow, you must feel like a king. You're like the only one that's not getting sniped. You're allowed to be on the map. So yeah, it was interesting, but I really don't. It's a broken mechanic in the game, and I really don't think it should be utilized by anybody. As far as sniping torpedoes, it's with the 22-hour repair times, and you have no fucking hope, and you got to spend all your time coming out hot out of every fucking target.
That sucks.
And George wants to auto them and come out hot. I mean, it's a broken mechanic that they should have fixed a while ago. Once they made this huge separation in repair efficiencies, armor amounts, damage done out, and then the resistance versus deflection thing that made the Conqueror hulls so much superior in fleet versus fleet. So.
It's been a broken mechanic since they first split up the PvE and PvP system. Before then, you could have gotten away with it in a lot of cases. But once they made that split, it was just impossible. And for a very long time, they just ignored it. No matter how many times they've been told, they ignored it. But thankfully, it does seem that they're actually listening at this point. It is very late. Very, very, very late. But from listening to the show and looking through the forums, they do actually seem to be going through what we're telling them and actioning ways around it.
Well, that's going to be the the be all and end all, because at this point I think everyone is cynical enough to go, you know what, I'm not going to believe it until I see it. And I think what they do is going to be far more important than what they're saying they're going to do. Because I mean, let's be honest. A couple of years ago, they were like, "Hold our feet to the fire," and we're gonna do this and this and this, and then it was like, "Oh, just give us a couple more months." Oh, give us, and at some point you just got to go, okay, what's going on? I mean, they're expanding this raid set by a month. They're postponing the next raid set by a month, but this raid set fucking sucks. Our auto hull doesn't work for shit. Damage is up through the roof. Right. If we have, we're going to have a 5-day raid, and it's probably going to be a hull raid then, or a store raid. And then the month after that, it might be the same thing. Another 5-day store raid. We don't know. I mean, we have no idea if the next one's going to be a store raid. But the thing is it's during a really horribly balanced raid set. This raid set hurts people. You're not going to see people getting, I mean, some idiots are going to get into the billion, the billion plus whatever, but
a couple of Brazilians,
yeah. I mean, most players are not going to want to rack up that many points at the price point that we have right now. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
So, is this going to be the tech raid, or is the tech raid going to be in a month? Do we know that yet, or not?
I think, because it's a 5-day raid, I think it's going to be a store raid. I mean, that's my presumption. I'm just wondering if they're going to double up and do that again next month as well.
It's very curious the way they worded it, where they didn't exactly say what was going on, but they did say that there was no new PvE items coming this month. So,
well, and here's the other thing that I thought about the other night. When this raid set first came out, do you guys remember what Rampage had posted? The last raid set was a little bit too easy. This one is going to be more difficult. Right. But he said it was going to be more difficult, and as you progress, it's going to get easier, right? Because your fleets get more powerful. And instead, we're not seeing that. We're seeing the difficulty increase, and we're not getting better. We're getting, worse times or static times going across. And that's not how they had prefaced this raid set. So the damage that they, was real high and everyone complained about in the first raid set, or the first raid of this set, has continued. We haven't seen improvements on that. I have issues with this one and with the fact that this is the raid set that they're going to kind of do extra on. You know what I mean?
What do you mean by do extra? What do you mean by?
We're going to have an extra month of this raid set.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what it means. So this is not the tech raid. That's why it's a shortened raid.
I think this one is the tech raid. I think we might actually see 2 of them.
The way they worded it was there's no new stuff, but it's a method of catching up. So it would imply that yes, this is going to be a tech raid or tech store raid, but you're not
Well,
having any additional items that aren't already in the game to collect.
yeah, but
So you're
did you
just
guys see the
catching up.
change? Did you see the change in name?
No.
The name of the raid changed to Conqueror or something. I don't know, it was like Conqueror base. So what I'm thinking is that we may see 2 of them, but I think this raid set we might actually see a lot of the PvP stuff come out, so people can catch up on the PvP stuff. That's just a guess, wild ass guess based on the name. But
they did say in the video it was going to be a PvP week. That was mentioned at some point that there was a PvP week.
That the raid was going to be a PvP week?
I don't know if they actually meant that the raid was going to be PvP week, but you'd have to watch the video a second or third time to find it. But
I didn't catch that.
They did say PvP week in there.
I did catch the fact that the name of the raid changed, though. I mean, this is just wild ass guess, of course. But, general when they do something like that, they like being slick with that kind of stuff. And, Conqueror's Wrath, that's the name of the August event is. So, just from that, I'm going to guess that it's going to, if we might see two raid stores, and this one might be Conqueror based or PvP based, and then maybe next month we're going to see the regular one that we expect, like the old Hull store raids, or hell, they might do both. I don't know, but I mean that would be interesting if they came out and had like all the turrets and all the Conqueror hulls and all that other shit come out in this next raid. The catch is though, especially if you're trying to do this for people to catch up, quote unquote, or get them on like a kind of at least semi-even playing field, they've got to take care of that damage level. That's just insane.
Yeah. I think part of the problem with the damage level was, yes, they might have expected us to take less damage as we progress, but the items they gave us for escalation were just poor and not very well calculated. We've got specials that you had to collect shards for that are pure garbage. So yes, they might have thought it would be good, but in reality, they're just giving us pure tech that hasn't been calculated very well.
Laredo's just giving me openings for everything here. So yes, cost of tech versus time for an event is a talk that is being had. Yes, there's a discussion about the cost versus time and tech and the tech cost in each raid. And he says they acknowledge that the cost versus time has gotten out of control. There's a couple of people that have been just going absolutely apeshit for the last few months about this. So yes, it's a discussion, but again, the proof is in the pudding. When I see it is when I'm going to be like, oh, okay, because they can discuss. I mean, they've had some great discussions in the past too, and nothing really solid has come of it. So let's see.
Yeah, it's exactly that. We've got a lack of trust and faith in them at the moment, where we have said things repeatedly for months on end, and yes, we've had the discussions, but they just ignored it, pushed it to the side. Some of us have been battling for a very long time on it, but again, they have to action it. What I've seen is more towards actioning. It seems positive, at least, compared to where we were a couple of weeks ago. But again, nothing's been fully actioned yet, so we'll just wait.
I will say this: the one positive that I'm seeing that hasn't happened previously is that while they have their venues to get input from the player base, it seems like they are tempering that with actual feedback from the player base. So, that might be a good thing going on there as well. I'm glad to see that. I'd be even happier to see like open test servers every once in a while too, but that's another story.
Especially for PvP, because for the love of goodness, I can't stand another turret that's just too overpowered.
Boba Fett, what's up, man? So Boba Fett's the one that pointed out the whole sniping thing. That might be an issue with alts. coming in. I totally stole that from him, FYI. But he's here now, so I can give him credit. So what's up, Boba? And Laredo said the pudding won't be ready until the raid starts. I kind of expect to see something before that. I don't know that the player base wants to wait 3 months to see movement on this. I mean, already, yeah, we're seeing some stuff with, the level cap going from 50 to 80 and things like that. But I also want to see something more significant than Band-Aid patches here and there. I mean, we know that, say, this raid set's jacked. If you're gonna increase this raid set out by an extra raid, I want to see something next raid. I want to see the auto hull work. I want to see the damage come down. Cost per 10 million come down. Your engagement time come down a little bit. I mean, things like that. Did we lose everybody?
No, I was taking a drink.
Oh, everyone's getting drunk.
No,
All right, excellent.
I'm just listening.
Everybody get drunk now.
It's exactly what you said there. Honestly, just repeating what we say in front of a screen or in the forums, just because you say, yes, we acknowledge this, isn't helping anything. You can acknowledge it and do nothing like you did before, but please, for the love of goodness, action it this time. Do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, we've said it a significant amount of times now. I don't want to keep on beating this one. I mean, actions are going to speak louder than the words, because they've given us the words plenty of times in the past. And as a community, we've become very cynical about this. We're going to wait until we actually see something, and not just this little small movements here and there. I mean, this is a company that has a vast amount of resources available for this. It's not that hard to sit and tune these targets. I mean, I know that they can tune them inside of a day if they want. I mean, they've done it during the raid. Mid-raid, they've tuned it. So I don't see an excuse to not tune these things properly for the next 2 raids as they ramp up and get ready to do whatever changes they're planning on doing in another 2 months.
Yeah, just on that, can they tune it before it gets to the raid, before the raid actually starts, instead of people in alpha suffering for the first hour to 2 hours with the most awful, useless targets that change every 5 minutes? Just fix
I don't know.
the damn thing before it goes live.
I have no idea. I don't know. We'll see. What else we got on the docket? Yeah, what else we got on the docket here? I think we beat this one to death.
Fixing things like the 103 target for base
Oh,
parts.
Lord. Yeah, go ahead, man. That's all yours. Go for it.
Firstly, I'd like to preface this with, if anyone continues to talk rubbish about this being a problem, you're just going to be blocked. I'm just ignoring you now. There is a massive problem, and where you have 2 hulls of equal level which did the raid, basically the same. They had their own top tier target. They're both top tier hulls. One should not completely outclass both the raid hull and the ship that preceded it. It shouldn't just completely wreck the Producent and the Buck. That just shouldn't be possible.
Top tier hulls should be able to do top tier targets in the way that they were designed. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And the argument that was made a couple of times was you shouldn't be able to do the top tier target with the auto hull as well as the skill hull. I get that. That works perfectly fine in situations like the Ironclad and the Cannoneers. Yes. But not when both are the top tier hull for that raid. And especially not when you've just built a new fleet of Producents, which are supposed to pass both hulls. They shouldn't be outclassed by the previous hull either. That is just stupidity.
I think a more basic premise to that is that, as a top tier hull, my investment in that has been the same on either one. So you know, when they come, and this is goes back to holding them accountable, is, you know, we wanted, or we expect, you know, if they're going to come out and say, hey, this is the auto hull, the cost is the same as the skill hull, this and that. I don't expect to see the skill hull do it for 20 minutes and the auto hull to do it for 20 minutes. You know, if the skill hull can do it for 20 minutes, the auto hull can do it for, like, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes. If one's an hour, the other one's an hour and maybe 20 minutes. I mean, they should be comparable in damage. Not the same, but comparable. It shouldn't be double or triple from one to the other, though, because they're both top tier hulls. And that is, you know, and for them to be locked out of a target, now that's a thing that's entirely just flips me entirely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way in hell I should have my Hydra autoing that target for 30 minutes of damage, and then the auto hull, you know, doing it for 4 hours of damage on auto. That's just insane.
Yeah. They give us the option to have one or the other, or have both. They've pushed the buck a lot, especially for the low level players. So they've given us co-op campaigns, especially just for the Buccaneer itself, so that lower level players can get into base parts and can start hitting the top tier target. And now they've locked it out completely. It's just screwing with the mid to low level players. It's yes, it annoys the big players, but it's completely locking out lower level players from doing the targets. Even the 81s are ridiculous. If you lose your charge on an 81 with Buccaneers, you're dead. It'll just melt you in seconds. It's just a wildly unbalanced set of targets towards the Hydras, which they haven't pushed as well as they have been pushing the Buccaneer, which is really deceitful on their part. To push something which is going to be worse is just not called for. And then, secondly, you've given us a hull. One's basically a blitz hull, one's a skill hull. We don't like doing chores. You've given us an app where we're going to be autoing things. But then you completely shut out the auto hull, which is probably the main choice for a lot of bigger players who just want to ignore the chores and get on with everything else in the game.
Mhm.
Why? Where's the common sense being applied in this? There's no common sense at all.
Well, I think it's. I mean, I think it's some of it comes down to target design because, you know, as we mentioned a lot of times with, you know, at least with the siege targets, the skill hull works better than the auto hull, even if you auto with it.
Yeah.
And that's a target design. That's more of a failure at the GD level than at the, you know, as far as designing the targets and designing the ships, as far as how they function. That feels, as opposed to product, pushing to get more money out of people and pushing us over to a different one. That feels more like a design flaw. And I think that's what George is talking about with associated with the autos. You know, I would understand you've been pushing for 20 minutes more, but I mean, but you know, if you're taking, I would prefer like a percentage difference as far as the difference between driving something well, because everybody's expectation was a couple of years ago, you drive something well with a skill hull, you're going to do it for instant repair, at least in your dock. And then with the auto hull, you're going to take some percentage of damage. But right now, you're taking. Is there been some recent targets where you're doing them for instant repairing your, well, sort of instant repairing your dock? I could see that if you're, but it's the skill hull. Like if you take the Hydras and you auto them correctly, once you take the damage on your Blood Hydra, you can keep on hitting the 103s, and you're getting like 5 minutes of damage. You know, 5-6 minutes. You know, it's like 30 seconds in your dock if you peel that thing off and then slap it back on. You're not taking that much damage. So there's some weird things going on. I don't know exactly how to explain them as far as like, I mean, how to take advantage of them. If you know, if you're hitting the 103s with the hydras, plan to hit a bunch of them. If you just hit one, you're losing out, because the real advantage is once you get your normal hydras down to 75%, you're not taking that much damage on your blood hydra, and you can repair that pretty quickly, get it back on the water, and hit something else.
Right.
And then just leave your regular hydras at 75%. I mean, don't bother repairing them. I mean, that's one strategy that I've been going with as far as the 103s.
Yep. I've been doing that with the TLCs too. Just for a moment though, I want to bounce out here for a sec because I just got a little bit of a clarification here, and it's actually in the forums as well. They actually say that there's going to be a raid in August and September. There's not going to be any new PvE content in the month of August. The skirmish cycle is going to have some changes to how it has historically played out. So maybe we're not going to see subs. That would be nice. I mean, I'm all subbed out, but that one is not coming until October. Let's see. We want players to catch up and be able to breathe before we start our transition over to the skirmish cycle in September. So, I mean, that kind of sounds like we're going to see the skirmish cycle in October, but we're going to start getting that hull, the bat, whatever the hell it was that they said, in September, unless they plan on doing like mixed targets. I don't know. So September is our early access month for the skirmish cycle, and October then transitions over to the skirmish targets. Okay, so that's what it is. So we're going to have an extra, definitely extra rate of this, and skirmish doesn't start until October now.
Okay. So rewind. September is what?
So September is still going to be the same. We're going to be in the same raid cycle going into September, but September is the early access month.
Okay.
So we're getting the skirmish hull in September.
Okay, the Batwing or whatever it is.
Yeah, the bat, whatever the heck he. Yeah.
Yeah, the Batwing comes out in September, so we're not getting it in the upcoming raid, and we're probably not, and we're not getting the Proto Apollo. So we're getting. It sounds more like we're getting catch up on PvP and probably a shitload of tokens. But at this point, what tokens does anybody need? I mean, maybe a few dragon tokens.
I mean,
at this point, as far as like mandatory tokens, I won't filled to the gills.
I won't ever kick tokens out of bed because I just love doing tweaks and stuff to my
Yeah, but right now I have my mana cores. I have 2 fleets of mana cores built, and I have 15 days, 25 days of build tokens for them, and they're built 2 fleets. I can't even buy them. I mean, it's unless they make some big changes or whatnot. I mean, it would just be spillover. I'm just asking, where would you want tokens? I mean, I guess your basic Defender, Conqueror, generic, Dragon tokens, Inferno or Greta's Dragon tokens, Protosense, Prototide Seekers. There's a fair amount of tokens that you could get at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You said you've got 2 monthly fleets done. I would think that they wouldn't have done this unless there was a need for it, and I'm guessing that not as many people as they desired to have got them hulls done.
I have 2 fleets.
Yeah, I know a couple of people who want to have 1 fleet done yet, let alone 2. So it might just be that the metrics show that not enough players have the fleets done.
Maybe, I don't know. Hefe, I'd sent you over a screen grab that Laredo sent me. That actually it's from the forum that actually clarified what I was just reading out.
Yeah,
that was I don't know if you want to share that on screen or not, but so I'm not sure it sounds, and the other thing is, it sounds like there's I mean, August. So it said, I think August. Let me see. It's going to be a bit different than July. I think they're actually going to try something else in terms of the event. Because I just got a message saying that the details are not available right now, but we want to take a look, and let me see. We want to look at the event briefing that's going to be in the calendar next week. So that's something to really look forward to. This is getting interesting. I mean, this is definitely going to be an interesting month for BP, I think.
Yeah, it does appear that some different things are happening, which is, I guess, good and bad. If it's as long as it's communicated well, and they have made steps to make communication better than it was historically with the calendar, and having Wrong Thinker along with Chris on the show.
Mm-hmm.
They have made some improvements as far as communication in general, which I think everybody should appreciate. It's very different, because the whip is sort of back. There are a lot of things that the players wanted to understand how the game is going forward, and they're telling us stuff as opposed, weeks ahead of time, as opposed to oh, this is going to happen tomorrow. Sorry, fuckers.
Baby steps. I mean, it's going to be baby steps, and it looks. I mean, like I said, it looks like it's starting. It looks like the baby steps are starting, but again, I think this community has become so cynical because of the past that we're really. I mean, it's going to be. What have you done for me lately? Because that's where we're at, honestly. So yeah, I do see change. I see a lot of things that are promising. But we've also seen that in the past, and that's the cynical part of me is like, yeah, this sounds great. Are they going to deliver? I mean, I guess that's the biggest part is are we going to see a delivery on what they're starting to promise? Because at the same time, we also have the Scatter Manticore. That's an awesome auto hull, right? I mean, that's totally auto friendly, right?
Yep.
The 103, that's those Buccaneers do a great job autoing those. I mean, so again, there's and I know they can't fix everything overnight. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's still a disparity between what's been promised or said and what's been delivered, and that's where I think we still have that whole cynicism stemming from. So that's going to take a while to overcome. I mean, it really is going to take a little bit to overcome that.
Because a lot of the people that promise that stuff are no longer, or the front man, the people that you heard that promise, are no longer with the company. And so that's a weird thing. As long as they keep on flopping people, it's like, oh, okay, well, they're gone. They made that promise to you. That part's a little bit weird, GDR, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but the thing is it's I don't buy that one, because here's the thing: they all have the apparent authority of the company. They were all in that position for the company. So the biggest
I'm
thing,
just saying from the player base. I'm saying from the player base.
Yeah, and from the player base, we see that. I mean, I personally, I don't care if it was someone that left or fired or whatever it was. They were there. That was their position. That was their job. That's what they delivered. So they delivered it. The company delivered it. I don't care who's doing the actual designing and stuff. It's what they delivered to me as a customer, and that's what I was handed. And I'm like, okay, awesome. And the bad thing is, and this is kind of the hard part to get over the hump for the cynicism, just human nature. We will hang on to a negative much more than a positive. It's like I can't remember what it was, like an 8-to-1 ratio or a 10-to-1 ratio. It was something stupid. Like for every one bad thing, you have to have like 8 good things to counter it in someone's mind. And they are in a hole. And if they started fresh today, they would still have to handle that disparity of ratio going forward. So where there's so much stuff broken, I think it's a good thing that they're taking baby steps because they're not over promising. But the thing is they better deliver on all the promises because if they don't, it's just gonna hang in people's minds.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Yeah,
really need to do it. They really need to do it quickly because, as you've mentioned before, the lifespan of the team members is very short.
Mhm.
Your promises don't have much time to be in fruition.
Mhm. And it does appear, at least in my mind, that they're wasting resources on this world chat. Unless somebody can find a reason behind it besides trolling people from long distances. What's the reason for it? It just sounds like a wall babble type of thing.
Well, I think the thing is that they've finally acknowledged that a lot of the players on this game are here just because of the community. You know, it's they're not here because of the game anymore. They're here because of the other players. And I think what they're trying to do, and I think I said this a while ago, like I don't want them to try and monetize that, but if they're gonna do something that helps that so that players maybe stay a little bit longer or stick around until something gets fixed, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's not. I don't know how much how many resources they had to commit to it, but
because I remember at one point I was a raid years ago, like six plus years ago, and they made some sort of screw up and they accidentally put about 20% of the people in the game in one sector.
Yeah, for the chat, right? We were seeing
no, we were all in the same sector. We were all piled right. That's where I met Powder, Gixxer. I met a lot of good people that way, but we were all. They piled that sector up to the gills with everybody, and there was 1,000 people talking on chat, and I was like, it was crazy and useless, and but I did meet some people because we were having a little bit of fun with it back when I used to like to talk on comms. But yeah, that was
Boba remembers it.
yeah. They jumped. There was a bunch of us. They jumped in there, and that's what I imagined this looking like. Just a bunch of bitching and trolling and trash talking and whatnot. They can go to Hammer Time for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be unprofessional about it.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to imagine what the vision is for this.
Oh, that was so much fun. I'm sorry I had to do that.
Yeah. So yeah. I just don't. I don't know. We could see it could end up being interesting, but yeah. The whole thing was just we don't need to talk about a clusterfuck they made 6+ years ago, but yeah, it was mid-raid. People were really upset, and because everybody was like, we were piled on top of each other, and we're not even sure why we all got moved that way. It just sort of happened mid-raid. We're all in the same sector. It was sort of like the aliens came down, anally probed us all, and then put us in this sector. It was quite odd. But that's what I imagine this looks like, because I feel like I've seen it before. But I could be wrong. It could work out. I just don't. It just seems like my idea to filter your advanced as far as building your stuff would be a better use of people's time than making sure that 100 sectors can talk on one platform. Because I don't know what they would talk about besides trolling people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing too is, look, part of trash talking is part of this game, so that's one thing. And the other thing is, we don't know how it might not have been that hard to do because they did have that world one that they had tried before. Maybe they just kind of repurposed that code. I don't know. Now, the other thing that I did want to bring up at one point too, which is part of the whole whip being back, is the Battle Pirates Next Week thing, a kind of like spin-off of the whip. Did you catch that today yet?
What's the word? It sounds like a made-up word. What was
Battle Pirates Next Week?
Okay, all right.
It's like a little
Yeah.
spin-off of the whip, where it's like next week, for example, he has like the Path of the Chameleon is coming up, Scorpion's Elite's coming up. So all those tokens. Now this is good because you have people playing the TLC right now. I really like this because of this. You have people doing the TLC right now, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's the scattergun version, and those things, they don't auto for shit." And I wish we had this or that. Well, the next version is next week, so you can actually get your tokens, save up on the tokens, and now we know. I mean, next week is we're not waiting to find out the day of the note release to go, hey,
Yeah,
I could have done this instead. I shouldn't have done I shouldn't have started the scatter build. I should have done, you know what I mean? So I do like this a lot. I like this a whole lot.
And the other thing I've noticed is they're releasing the release notes earlier, and on a regular schedule. They're not, oh, okay, the release is going to come out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Because people, I might be more interested in that because I have to put slides together than other people. But I think a lot of people go and they look like what's happening in the game with only an hour's notice, but they want it to be at the same time. They don't want to sit around and go, okay, this is happening at this point. So they have made a lot of good changes, as far as communication. So
yeah, that we also have the co-op TLC that came out that if anyone catches me on the game, I have no problem like walking you through number 1 and 2 because you can't do all 3 at once because you're going to lose the 3-day token. So I'm in the 200s, and I'll probably be on a little bit later on tonight, just walking through a bunch of those because I auto them. That's all. Yeah. So you just start it. I'll hop in and to kill everything for you. I don't give a crap. You just sit in the corner and get your stuff. So
Yeah, but if you're doing it the opposite way, you need to do some damage. If you're like somebody is hopping in order to, I'm not sure how much damage, but if somebody's hopping in just to get
none. They just park in the corner. I did like
okay, you're not listening. I mean, the people that are jumping in to get the chest. If you don't do any damage, you don't get.
I see. Gotcha.
Yeah, because I invited people like I'm going to do this whole thing. You park in the corner, they don't get the chest unless they do. I don't know.
Probably 5%. It's probably 5% again.
Yeah. That was my assumption was 5% because I had one friend do it.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, I didn't even think of that. Actually, I just been popping in and getting people their Manticore stuff. So.
Yeah, and the chest isn't it's I've never gotten more than
one shard.
Shard of 4 different.
Just one shard. Yeah, it's just one shard. It's not a random thing or anything. It's just a guaranteed one shard of.
Well, the random part is what you're getting. You're going to get one shard of 4 different things. So like you need to do 20 to. It's not as valuable as it might seem. So.
Right. That's why I didn't even realize what you were talking about doing it the other way. I was like, I wouldn't even bother.
Yeah, but you're going out hitting for people, so that's
yeah. I mean, I had like 3 people jump to me last night, and I just walked through because it's like I think on auto, if I just leave it on auto, it's like 40 minutes of damage. I just use two hulls, the Greta and one dragon, and then if I want to cut down some of that. I just charge the Manticores, kill all those, not the Manticores, I'm sorry, the Mastodons, kill all those first and then let it auto. And it's like 30 minutes of damage. But I just run it until the dragon's, almost dead, and I swap out a dragon and I just keep on going. I repair overnight and everyone's happy.
Mm.
So
okay. Nobody wants to pop on. Are you really that afraid of Mike?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But
yep.
See, I need to go get a beer. I'm leaving this time for you to talk about the artwork.
Well, actually, I'm at my hard cap. I gotta go actually. So I was gonna say goodnight to everybody.
Okay.
You didn't post up that picture either. So if you get a chance, so everyone else can read that because I know it's buried. See, that's one of the things that we've said before. That one's buried in a post somewhere. which I wish it wasn't. I wish it was somewhere added on to one of the original posts. Maybe Laredo can cut and paste it and put it into one of the pinned posts at the top or something. But that's where he discusses that we're getting an extra month of this raid and all that other stuff. So maybe Hefe will put it up there. But other than that, guys, have a good evening, have fun, enjoy, and I'll be on later on. If someone's in the 200s and needs help with that TLC, just find me and bug me, and y'all have fun with that. So have a good night, everybody.
Take care, man.
Later, George.
Think about
Yeah, the other thing is, George was able to find that. I've been banned. Well, George has been banned from the forums, but that's a whole different other question. But I can't. CM Chris has not. You can't look. The way I was able to figure out if the CMs posted something was to be logged in and look at what they do personally, and then go and try and find the post, because I can't read actual forum posts if I'm logged in. But I can't look at what individual people do unless I'm logged in. So right now, I'm completely clueless on if CM Chris posts anything that's not a pinned post. It does seem. Don't you think it seems a little weird that the community manager has his post hidden? You don't have permission to see this. I've never seen that before from a Kickstarter employee, but hopefully it changes it.
Yeah, he probably should change that, because it is rather important to see what he's posting.
Yeah, and and it's like, lady, everybody should be able to read the forums. Like, I can't. If I'm logged in, I can't read the forums.
Are you banned?
I've been banned for, well, I think 2 years, but in the last couple of months, I can't even read the forums. Before I was able to read them, just not post. But now I can't read the forums unless I go into an incognito window. So it's a little ridiculous, and not a huge fan of it. The fact that I have to go to an incognito window and I have to like double go back and forth between them. It seems ridiculous, and it seems like even if they ban a player from the forums, they should be allowing them to get information from the forums.
Yeah, ban them from posting things, but not ban them from seeing things.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I told Rampage about it. I told Doomrooster about it. No, Doomrooster. It was still in place with Doomrooster. When Doomrooster was around, I could still read, but something happened while Rampage was there that didn't allow banned accounts to read the forums if they were logged in. Yes, I am not going to make an alt. I think you guys should be able to fix the problem, Laredo. Laredo's suggesting I make an alt.
Yeah, the Laredo can surely fix that one.
He can unban me. I mean, Laredo could look at why I was banned. I think it was Toyota, but yeah, there's no reason I was banned. But all right, because I tell people, look me up, see why I got banned. But I'm going to post it one last time. We've gone for an hour. And anybody else have anything to say? I mean, I'm sorry we disappointed you. We didn't have George's art review.
Oh.
Yeah. So we missed that. And so I guess we can go to the after show, unless we got more to discuss.
I could discuss Bounty, but I would no longer have the will to live.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk PvP. I mean, I need to go get a beer. I was hoping George's little art segment was going to carry me over while I got a beer, but I guess not. So feel free to join the after show, everybody. I'm going to end the broadcast. We'll see you on Wednesday, and the schedule about what we're going to be able to talk about at that point. So I think Kixeye is making a lot of improvements. Some of them seem a little off kilter, but we hope they'll all work out. good night, everybody, and see you on Wednesday.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh, now he's calling him Terrence instead of Terrence. Oh my goodness.